Good evening, everyone. My name is Meredith Vaughn, and I am the chair of the Ask Me Anything Task Force. Thank you for being here with us this evening. We're very excited to present the 22nd session of the Ask Me Anything Task Force, the Ask Me Anything series. So we are really excited tonight to have a special presenter. I don't know if anyone's attended a past session of Ask Me Anything, but you probably know that we usually do a panel of people. Well, tonight we're going to concentrate on one person and the information that they have to share with us. So he will be introduced in just a minute. I did want to let everybody know that we're going to hold our questions until the end. We have an hour to spend together tonight. We will not go longer than an hour, but the main bulk of the information that we're going to share with you this evening is going to take about 45 minutes. So if you have questions that come up during that, you can jot them down for yourself. You can put them in the chat box. We'll address it at the end of the 45-minute presentation portion. But we will be able to have time to answer additional questions after that part. Just for general Zoom etiquette, I always ask that you stay on mute. It just helps the audio quality for our audience, and I appreciate that. So special thank you as always to the NCRA board members that are in attendance at our event and to our NCRF trustees that are here, and especially the task force that helps me do this work all the time. Really appreciate you. For everyone's calendar, there are upcoming dates of Ask Me Anything already scheduled. We are here tonight to talk about finances and best practices for finances, but we will be gathering February 24th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for an hour, and that session is going to talk about what are your go-to gadgets? What are those things you use at work that make what you do easier, seamless, help you do an outstanding job? March 24, we're going to talk about career paths. So in core reporting, we can do a lot of different things. Freelance, official, Congress. We're going to talk about where that settlement machine can take you. We're going to call it from Congress to the courtroom and all the places in between. So if you're interested, or if you mentor students or new reporters that would be able to benefit from that information, March 24th is the event to sign up for. And then rounding out our spring calendar lineup, we are going to gather on April 28th, and we're going to talk about what's it like to go to the NCRA conference. Many of you perhaps have already attended an NCRA conference and know what it's about, but maybe you haven't visited Bellevue, Washington. Bellevue's a rather large city just north of Seattle, Washington. You would fly in and out of Washington, in and out of Seattle. So if you want to know anything about our conference coming up in July, then the April event is when to come to Ask Me Anything to get all the fantastic details and inside scoop. So before I talk any longer, we have to do one more thing before our 45-minute presentation, and that is ask Rich Jermosin to take a photo for social media. We really try to keep Ask Me Anything in the forefront of our membership's minds, and part of how we do that is promoting it on social media. So if you need a hair flip or lipstick, now is the time so that Rich can take your photo.
All right. Evening, everybody. Let's see here. Oh, how about I not drop my phone? Okay. All right. So one, two. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
So, for those in the audience, I'm going to introduce Matthew Drager, and Matthew is on our Ask Me Anything task force, and he has brought us our most excellent speaker tonight. So, Matthew, if you could please introduce.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask Me Anything on Financial Responsibility. As a retired official court reporter, ex-freelancer, and currently a teacher, one thing I try to tell all of my students is that you have to have a plan for your future. When you're young, you don't really think much about what's going to happen in 20 or 30 years, but this is the time to start. So with that in mind, to help everybody who will probably end up being a independent contractor or working in an environment that does not come with a benefit plan, we wanted to share with you some of the very, very many options and opportunities there are for you to have fiscal responsibility, because as I always tell my students, you can be young and poor, but you can't be old and poor. So with that, I have asked Mike Sarcheck from First Financial Coach to make a presentation to everyone to help answer some questions and show you some pathways to financial stability and responsibility for your future. So with that, I turn it over to Mike, and everybody take good notes. And as Meredith and everyone will share with you, the information will be available post talk.
Well, hello, good evening, everyone. I'm in Detroit, yes, and it's 8 degrees here. All right. So those of you that I think it was Joe, you're in Chicago, you said. So I feel you. And those of you that are in Florida, I don't have much sympathy for you either, but that's okay. I love you. I love you all. But anyways, thank you so much, Matthew and Jill and Meredith and everyone from the National Court Reporters Foundation for having me here tonight. It's a pleasure to be here. We've got a great conversation this evening, and I got a lot to go through. So I'm going to dive right in, okay? So I want to make sure I finish on time and open up some time for questions at the end. So like Meredith shared with all of you, let's try to save the questions. It's possible some of the things I go through tonight might answer your questions. Then again, it's possible some of the things that I go through tonight might raise some questions. But either way, we'll address those towards the end. So with that, we're going to do a little screen sharing here. So give me 1 second. We'll get this going the right way. Okay. All right. Can everyone see that? We're good? Okay. Excellent. All right. Now let's see if we got, okay, look at it, and the clicker works too. Okay. I'm doing good. 2 for 2. But tonight's conversation is titled Creating Your American Dream, Empowering Your Future Through Your Retirement Savings Plan. Now, before I get into this, I'm just going to introduce or tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Mike Sarcheck. The name of my firm is First Financial Coaching. Our principal office is here in Detroit, or just north of Detroit, Mount Clemens, actually. And we have 7 offices across the country. We have an office in Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Nashville, Chicago, Kentucky. And so we cover a lot of area. We serve over 2,000 households. But I've been in this business now for 27, or actually now we're 2026, 28 years. And when it comes to investing, I've seen a lot. I really have. And I'm going to share a lot of great things with all of you tonight. But this infographic here, what's going to happen is that I'm going to share, or actually Jill's going to share this with you later on. It'll be in the chat. And then I believe she's going to email this as well. I think that's what we decided on too. So you'll have an opportunity to get this. But there's a little QR code on the bottom of this. And what that'll take you to is what's called our Investor Awareness Guide. I encourage you to take the time, it's all digital, to go through it. It's got a lot of great information. Okay, it'll tell you a little bit more about us as well. You can also go to our website and check us out. But please take some time and learn about First Financial Coaching. So creating your American dream, empowering your future through your retirement savings plan. I have some assertions for tonight. Number one is that your American dream is directly impacted by your savings, planning, and investment strategy. Assertion 2, your American dream is within your grasp, and your retirement plan is a powerful access to fulfilling on it. And assertion 3, investing can be complex, and having a process environment to train and develop you to achieve your dreams can be beneficial. So let's dig into this. Assertion 1, your American dream is directly impacted by your savings, planning, and investment strategy. This is a really great question. I mean, how many people do you think are really prepared for retirement? Well, if we take a look at the statistics right now, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 53% of private industry workers participated in a retirement plan. So that's only half. 28% of US adults do not save any portion of their household's annual income for retirement. That's really low. 24% of workers feel, what they say, very confident they will live comfortably in retirement. Only 24%. 39% of workers state their lack of confidence is due to little or no savings. And along with that, believe it or not, one of the biggest reasons I see that most people don't participate in a lot of retirement savings, or, don't even, use an IRA or anything, is because it's complex. They don't understand it. There's a lack of education. 57% of working Americans say they are behind on their retirement savings. 57%. And the older the American, the farther behind they feel on their retirement savings, according to the latest bank rate survey. So you got baby boomers, or my generation, Gen X, okay? 68% of us say that, we're behind, which means that either more than likely we started late. And then you just look over like the Gen Zs and millennials, they're a little more confident. But even then, they may not really be thinking about it yet. They think they're on the right track, but they may not be. So how much money will you need in retirement? It's a really good question. And it's a question that I think most of us as investors don't really ask. We don't really think about it. I always tell my clients that, there's really two methods of savings that I see most investors do. There's I've got a plan and I've, figured out exactly what I want, what I'm going to need, and what it's going to take to get there. And then there's the fly by the seat of your pants method, I call it, where we just throw a bunch of money in a retirement account and hope it works, with no looking at how much will I really need and what it's going to take to get there. 52%, or only half of workers, have tried to calculate how much money they will need to save to have a comfortable retirement. And if they do, a lot of times they're not thinking or asking this question until maybe within a year or two of their retiring. Many retirement experts recommend strategies such as saving 10 times your pre-retirement salary and planning on living on 80% of your pre-retirement annual income. So start thinking about this, okay? So the general rule of thumb here, or the recommendation that a lot of advisors and experts are saying is, okay, you need to save 10 times of what you're making, but you only live on 80% of what you're used to making. These rules of thumb do not take into account the lifestyle you are looking forward to living in your retirement. So what does my American Dream retirement really look like? What am I going to do in retirement? Have you thought about it? I know, some of you might just, be starting your career, or maybe you're, middle of your career. It could be towards the end of your career. But have you thought about, what does my retirement really look like? Or what will you be doing in your dream retirement? Will you be traveling? Okay. Will you be, going fishing every day? I don't know. Well, according to Dan O'Reilly, professor of behavioral economics at Duke University, retirement can be much more expensive than working life if you consider what you will be doing with your time. So consider this, that when you're working all day, you have less time to be out spending money. So Dan also says, if you're in retirement, every day is like the weekend. Every day is expensive. You want to do things. Very few people just want to go fishing and walking in the woods. I've got some clients, somebody in particular that's been I worked with for the last 15 years, just retired after 44 years in his career. And they want to travel. They have not traveled. They want to go to exotic places. But the things that they want to do, is 80% of his normal income really going to allow for that? O'Reilly's research, when asking people how they plan to live in retirement, showed that they could expect to need up to 130% of their final salary annually in retirement. So we've got the general rule of thumb saying we should save 10 times and plan on living on 80%, but the reality is that people need 130%, which means that people are not saving enough. 45% of retirees say their overall spending is higher than they expected. Up from last year's 36% of retirees say their travel or leisure expenses are more than they expected. And here's the statistics on that. And it's kind of interesting because, you take a look at this and you see that the net higher than expected 45%, that's 45% higher. Now it's down from the previous year, but still people are seeing that it's costing more and they're spending more than what they thought they would in retirement. Now, as we age, healthcare gets more expensive. It just does. Okay. And this is something that we don't think about when we're younger. I mean, I know as I've gotten older, there was a time I never met my deductible on my health plan. Now it seems like a regular occurrence. A lot of sort of weird things happen when you get older. Or then again, you start having to go for tests that you never thought you'd ever have to go for. But it's a part of life. And the average healthcare expense, if we take a look at the averages by age, as we get older, they just naturally get more expensive. And then we get into our 60s, which is about our retirement age. And there's other things that come into play just beyond normal healthcare. There's long-term healthcare, nursing home care. These are all the things that a lot of us just don't consider. Now, once you have a solid savings and planning strategy in place, then you can focus on investing to maximize your potential return for the amount of risk you are willing to take. Many people are not aware that there is a science to investing. There is a science to investing. Now, the general investing world thinks there's this default way to invest money. You just throw your money in some Vanguard funds and, pray it works. But the reality is that there is another world. And that world is backed by scientific principles and theory. And my firm and myself has used these principles for the last 30 years. Now, what they think of, and what investors think of as investing, is merely speculating and gambling with their future. Okay? It's like going to the casino with your life savings. Now, it is critical that you take the time to understand what investing is and how it works so you can put yourself and your family in a position to realize your American dream. Your savings, planning, and investing strategies all play a part in the fulfillment of your dream retirement. Assertion 2, your American dream is within your grasp. And your retirement plan is a powerful access to fulfilling on it. Now, how can you save and invest your way to help fulfill on your American dream? Well, step one is saving. And a retirement plan is a great opportunity to get started and help maximize your future. It is a good idea to save a percentage of your paycheck each month. If you can afford it, 15% of your annual salary is recommended, but saving any amount is worthwhile. In my 27 years, I have never met anybody that says they save too much. It's always the other way around. So I encourage, if you can save 5%, save 5%, but save 15, save 20, save what you can. And the earlier you get started, the better off you are. And I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. Now, depending on the plan, contributions can be either pre-tax or after-tax. Both have tax benefits subject to your personal circumstances. So saving and investing through a retirement plan is an easy and effective way to get on track. Now, this is really, really important. Okay, so pay attention here. The magic of compounding. Oh, compound interest. What is compound interest? Compound interest is the process in which an asset's earnings from either capital gains or interest are reinvested to generate additional earnings over time. This growth, calculated using exponential functions, occurs because the investment will generate earnings from both its initial principal and the accumulated earnings from preceding periods. So it's real simple. You know, if you have $100 and it earns 10%, okay, at the end of the year you have $110. Now the $110 earns 10%. Okay, now you got $121 and the $121 earns 10% and so on. Okay. The magic of compounding, it's a powerful, powerful tool. So let's take a look here at this example. Let's say you're saving monthly until age 65, and let's look at $200 a month. So let's say you start saving $200 a month at age 30. Okay, you've saved a total of $84,000 of your own money. At a 9% return, your account is now worth $542,612. But what you'll see is if you look up, if you would have started doing that $200 a month at age 25, okay, you would have saved a little bit more, but your account would be worth $849,930. But you'll also see is if you start saving later, you save less, but you also won't earn as much because it doesn't have as much time. And the higher the return, obviously the higher the potential value of your account. But that compounding can be a huge part of what you earn. It's amazing. The sooner you get started, the more opportunity you have for growth and reaching your goals. So how long your money is invested makes a huge difference. In this example, saving $100 a month from age 23 to 33, okay, this is in the blue side there, the blue graph, and then just stopping, you would have saved $12,000 starting at age 23, and at the age 65, your account would be worth $149,000. But if you would have waited until you're 35 and hence saving until you're 65, you'd have to save $36,000 and your account's worth less. So the earlier you get started, the better off you're going to be in the end. Savings alone, though, will not be the answer to fulfilling on your dreams. Investing plays a critical role in reaching your goals. The stock market is one of the greatest wealth creation tools ever invented. Now, there's a lot of fear around the stock market, but mostly that fear just has to do with the lack of understanding of how the markets really work. how risk works. Investors immediately associate risk as bad. Okay, I want no risk. Okay, I want to make 10% a year, but I don't want to take any risk. Well, what you forget is that risk is also good. Risk is what gives you the 10% return. But it's aligning yourself with a risk or a risk that meets your tolerance. And I think that most investors just don't have an opportunity, or their advisors, or they just don't have the education to help them better understand risk and align themselves with the appropriate risk. And then design a portfolio or engineer a portfolio that would give them the highest possible return for the risks that they want to take. It's usually the other way around. People just throw their money in mutual funds, hoping they're going to make money, and they might make money, but then when it goes down, they don't understand why, and they get scared, and they sell everything, and it's a complete disaster for them. And then fear sets in, and they don't want anything else to do with it until it goes back up again. Then they figure they'll do it again. And the end result is that investors don't make any money. Okay, they experience lots of losses, frustration, anxiety, and they're just plain out just mad. And it's unfortunate. Now, if you make $60,000 a year, okay, contributing 10% to a retirement plan, that's $6,000. In 30 years, depending on return, you could have at 4%, $349,000, at 7%, $600,000, at 9%, $891,000, or at 12%, $1.6 million. Returns play a huge role in this. So you got compounding. Okay, you want the compounding of the returns, but the investment side plays a huge role in this. I mean, I'll be honest here, okay, with you, is just investing in savings accounts and CDs at the bank isn't going to cut it. I mean, the last few years, you've had some higher interest rates, okay, which has resulted in banks providing higher rates on their CDs, but that's not going to be around forever. Getting a higher return is going to require you to consider using the stock market as part of your investment strategy. If you make $100,000, that 10% contribution now is $10,000 a year. Again, at 4%, it could be worth $583,000. At 7%, $1,010,000. 9%, $1.4 million, and at 12%, $2.7 million. So investing plays a big role in this. So here's 55 ways to become a millionaire. Start at $200 a month there at the bottom, okay, at your age 20. All right, getting a 9% rate of return. By the time you're 65, you got $1.3 million. But if let's say you're saving $1,000 a month and you're starting at age 20. Now that's $6.6 million. But you'll see is that if you move to the right there, the further you go down, the further you wait to get started, that compounding is not in your favor now. So if you're saving the same $1,000 a month, if you started at age 20, it's worth $6.6 million. At age 40, it's only worth $1.1 million. So the earlier you get going, the better off you're going to be. My son is 11 years old. Hard to believe he's 11 years old already. Last year, he got a job. His job is he comes into here and he empties trash cans and shreds things and so forth, okay? And we give him little projects. Well, I pay him. And every dollar he earns, guess what he does with it? I put it into a Roth IRA for him. So imagine now I think last year he made about $3,000. That's how many hours he worked. He did quite a bit of work. Can you imagine at age 11 what that $3,000 a year in a Roth is going to be for him? It's going to be substantial. So the earlier you can get going, and think about this for if you got kids. The earlier they can get going, the better off they're going to be. They won't have to save as much to become a millionaire. A retirement savings plan can be designed to support you in achieving your dreams. Assertion 3. Investing can be complex. Having a process environment to train and develop you to achieve your dreams can be beneficial. Many people are just overwhelmed with investing. I mean, how many of you here think investing is complex? Yeah, right? It's complex. I mean, it's in front of you 24/7 on the TV. It's all over the internet. I was trying to look it up before we came in, but Google doesn't tell you how many hits you get anymore, or if it does, I can't find it. But it used to tell you when you typed in the word invest. I always type in the word investing, and it would tell you how many hits you get. It was like, I don't know, 100 million or something like that hits. We figured it out one time. It would take you like 15 years to read it all. It's just, there's just a lot of information, bookstores, internet, everywhere, social media, it's all over the place. And most of it's not good news. And what do you believe? I mean, I could go right now, I bet you go to the internet, I'll find somebody that says something about some investment, and I'll find somebody else that says something completely different or the opposite. There's no consistency in the information. So how do you decipher all this? Investors who don't understand the science of investing are more likely to make potential disastrous investing mistakes. I mean, I see this a lot. And it's so sad sometimes. I mean, I've seen people, they lose their entire life savings. And and they're ruined. They were going to retire and now they got to go back to work. Has anybody been on a diet? I have. It's not fun, I know. But you could be on a diet and do really well. You could go home and eat a piece of cheesecake. You'll probably feel bad about it, but you can recover from that pretty easily. You might go to the gym the next day or something like that. But one investing mistake, one, could completely wipe you out overnight. And now your whole life changes. So let's take a look at this. Who remembers the tech crash of the late 90s into 2000? I remember it. This is when I first got into business. Everybody thought they had it all figured out, right? Well, this started in January 95 and into February of 2000. And the technology in US large caps were just on fire. If you $100,000 invested back then in 95 in the tech area, which was mostly the NASDAQ area, went to 624,000, over 6 times in a very short period of time. S&P 500 was 3 times. And then the other deciles, you have decile 6 and 10, the crisp 6 and 10. These are small caps, small value stocks, and large value. But technology and large caps were driving the market back then. And then what happened? It crashed. From March 2000 to September of 2002. The NASDAQ stocks went from over 600,000, in value, account value, went down to 155. I mean, you lost 80% of your money in 2 years. And large caps was about it was at 300,000, went down to 200,000. Now here's what's going on today. In the last 4 or 5 years, looks just like this. Actually, it looks like this. Now the question is that will history repeat itself? Technology and US large caps have been on fire for the last 4 or 5 years. Are we up for another crash? I don't know. But those people have been chasing this stuff. Okay. They're putting all their money into it. And if it crashes, it's not going to be pretty. How about the pandemic? I think we can all remember this, right? December 1 of 2019 to March 31st of 2020, we watched the global markets just went psh. NASDAQ stocks, S&P, everything was down. Went down about 30% in the course of 3 months. It happens quick. As your wealth grows within your plan, it is harder to recover from mistakes in the design of your investment strategy. An investing mistake near retirement can be disastrous. And I was sharing that with you earlier. Okay, it can wipe you out overnight. Many workers aren't using professional sources of information and advice that can help improve their investment know-how. What are they doing? Well, a large portion of workers, investors just in general, 40% of them turn to their family or friends when seeking information about retirement planning. While only 2 in 10 turn to their workplace retirement provider or even a professional advisor or coach like myself. They go talk to their parents or they go talk to their uncle. First Financial Coaching, my company, is committed to providing investors with globally diversified, efficient portfolios based in scientific Nobel Prize winning research. We've done this for 30 years. So what does the science look like? Well, there's 3 investing principles based on the science of investing. The first is called efficient market hypothesis. This was designed and developed by Dr. Eugene Fama. He won the Nobel Prize. Then there was the 3-factor model. This was designed again by Dr. Gene Fama and his associate, Dr. Kenneth French. And then there's modern portfolio theory. This was designed and developed by Dr. Harry Markowitz, again, a Nobel Prize winner. Dr. Markowitz won the Nobel Prize in his research in 1991. Now, here's the thing. Dr. Markowitz had the research done, 20 years prior to him winning the Nobel Prize. The problem is that they couldn't prove his theories correct because they couldn't do the calculations on a slide ruler. It wasn't until 1991 when the first Pentium processor came out in a computer that they were able to run his calculations, and this proved his theories correct, and he won the Nobel Prize. This guy was brilliant. So here's the premises of the science. It first deals with what we call asset class correlation, which is really the similarity of how investments move. So the idea is that we want to own investments that are not similar. They move differently. So really when one zigs, the other one zags. The issue I see a lot is that investors own a lot of investments. They might have 5, 10, or 15 different mutual funds in their portfolio, and they all have different names. But what we find out is that all the funds are buying the same assets. Therefore, they're not diversified. They just own a lot of stuff. So true diversification is owning assets that are different from each other, that move in different directions from each other. But you have to have a means of being able to measure the correlation. You'd be surprised on how even different asset categories, could be small caps and large caps, have a similar price movement. So by owning 2 investments or multiple investments that have dissimilar price movements, you'll have a more steady rate of return up the middle. But then by combining the asset classes based on correlation, we can engineer a portfolio that maximizes expected return for a given level of risk. This is really important. And this is where Dr. Markowitz's work came in in designing what's called the efficient frontier. What the efficient frontier allows you to do is that it allows you at whatever level of risk you're comfortable with to be able to engineer a portfolio to get the highest possible return for whatever level of risk that is. And the efficiency curve is this line here, okay, that he calls it, because there is a point where a portfolio will become most efficient, meaning it's the most money it'll ever earn. So you want to engineer a portfolio that would allow you to get the highest possible return for whatever given level of risk that is. But the thing is that most investing companies just don't have the means of being able to do this. You have to have algorithms. You got to have a means of designing all this stuff. This is where all the science comes in. So consider implementing a plan that offers you portfolio options that are engineered for efficiency. Now, there's different types of retirement plans out there. You got IRAs, Roth IRAs, simple IRAs, SEP IRAs, 401ks, solo 401ks, and there's others. But working with a financial professional that can help tailor a plan that is right for you is critical. Because not all these plans may be the right one for you. So it all depends on your situation. So you want to work with someone that can align what you got going on with the appropriate retirement plan that'll work best for your situation. Now, this is something that investors just don't really consider at all. And this is the behavioral side of investing. This plays a huge role. You could have the best designed portfolio in the world, the best one, but your own humanness could screw it all up. We're emotional creatures. We were not born, okay, or we didn't come out of the factory knowing how to do this stuff. So a lot of times we make decisions based on how we feel or our instincts or, whatever's going on. And the news doesn't help that any. It makes it worse. And they know that. So having a process can help manage and control investor behavior. One that allows for discipline over an entire lifetime. Given that human beings are not hardwired for discipline, sticking to a process, what would make a difference? Well, it's creating an environment and community that supports the process, right? We call it coaching. People go to Weight Watchers to be in an environment of weight support and being healthy. And this is just one example. There's many other examples out there. But what we've seen is that anyone who is committed to high performance has a coach. And it may not just be one coach, it might be multiple coaches. And it's in all different areas of life: business, finance, sports. They have coaches. Maximizing the potential with the power of coaching. That's what you want to be looking for. So what is an investor coach? An investor coach is a financial professional who has mastered the application of empirically tested research on the science of investing and empowers investors to alter destructive behaviors around their blind spots and investor biases. This is the beginning of your journey toward your American Dream retirement. So, in review, my assertions. Number one, your American Dream is directly impacted by your saving, planning, and investment strategy. Two, your American Dream is within your grasp, and your retirement plan is a powerful access to fulfilling on it. And number three, investing can be complex, and having a process environment to train and develop you to achieve your dreams can be beneficial. So with that, I thank you all, Okay, and I'm going to turn it back over to Meredith. And if there's any questions, fire away.
Outstanding. Thank you for all the information. Absolutely a little overwhelming, but I think the takeaway that came away from that is the motivation to, get busy and get organized and get what we need to get things going. We did have a couple of questions submitted ahead of time from an audience member. Someone asked if you had strategies for starting later in life.
Strategies for starting later in life.
Yeah,
Well,
if you weren't that 20-year-old that put their $3,000 away.
yeah. Well, I tell you what, I mean, it's never too late to start. I believe in that. I mean, the first thing that you would want to do is, is meet with somebody first and foremost. Like I talked about before, is one, figuring out what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, that's priority number one. Two is, what's the right plan for you? Okay, having somebody take the time to really assess what it is you're trying to do and figure out what's the best place to put your money. And two, it's going to take a little work from yourself, figuring out how much can I afford to save, and just start doing it. I mean, at a minimum, if you meet the requirements, doing an IRA or Roth IRA is a great way to start. Okay, just to get going. But then again, it could go further than just that, because you got to check with IRAs and Roth IRAs. There's limits, okay, on one, if it's an IRA, well, it's actually for both, on what you earn will determine if you can make the pre-tax contribution or even make an after-tax contribution to a Roth IRA. And if you're married, that amount is different than if you're single. So depending on how you file. So there's a lot of things that come into play with this. I run into this quite often. I have CPAs that I work with, and I've had a few of them say, what I like about working with you, Mike, is you actually take the time to make sure that the client or the investor can contribute to these plans. Versus some people, they start contributing, they don't consider if they are qualified for it, they just start putting money into it. And then they end up having to reverse it at the end. So meeting with a qualified person to figure out what's the best plan, I think would be important, but just starting. I mean, even if it's $100 a month, it's just, you got to get going.
Wonderful answer. Thank you so much. Another pre-submitted question was, do you have any never do's?
Well, we could probably spend an hour just on never do's. Here's what I got to say about that. I think this is the simplest thing to say here in regards to that question. If it sounds too good to be true, don't do it. If I've learned anything in this industry for the last 27 years, there is no free lunch. Okay. There is nothing out there that is going to give you 20% returns with no risk. It just doesn't exist. So be cautious, do your homework. You got a lot of crazy investments out there right now. And I wouldn't even call some of them investments. It's just plain old gambling. One of them, in my opinion, is cryptocurrencies. That is, I don't get it. Okay. I don't get it. It doesn't own anything. I don't understand it, but people are putting their money into it, and I just don't know how you can invest in something or put your hard-earned money into something that doesn't own anything. So, you just got to be cautious. Another thing to be cautious about too are annuities. Be cautious on those, especially indexed annuities or annuities that have what they call lifetime income benefits. A lot of times these annuities have higher fees. There's fees for these income benefits. And even some of these income benefits you may never use. So be cautious of those.
Okay, so I think we're having some sort of Zoom glitch where at least on my end it says the chat has been disabled. Is there someone in the audience that has a question? You can raise your hand, unmute. Okay. All right. So Mike, if you've made any financial mistakes over the years, is there such a thing as a quick fix?
I guess in what context? Before I answer that, I mean, is in relation to the investment itself or
So the
not?
submitted question that I was given didn't have context, just are there any
Okay.
fixes for things?
Well, I'm not going to say, I can't say that, I mean, some things might have a quick fix, some things may not. I'm dealing with a case right now for one of my clients' parents. And I mean, they've invested in all kinds of different things over the years, but they just don't know what they have. And it's a mess. It's not a quick fix. It's taking time. It's taking me time, and I know what I'm doing with this. If it was them trying to do it on their own, it would probably take 3 times the amount. So there could be some things that could be fixed quickly. Maybe if you're not saving, you don't think you're saving enough, obviously you could change, the amounts you're saving and take a look at that pretty closely. But if it's the investment itself, just depends. I brought up annuities. A lot of these annuities have deferred surrender charges. So you could get into an annuity, realize it wasn't the best thing for you, but then it might take you 7 or even 10 years to get out of it. So it all depends.
So maybe the answer to that question is quick fix might especially require professional help.
Yep. I think
Um,
that would be a great way to sum it up. Absolutely. It might.
And that's important for our audience members to know that, while we've been discussing best practices tonight and strategies tonight and, listening to the advice of an expert, super important that you all consult your financial professionals, your tax accountants, your investment strategies. We wanted to bring you answers to questions tonight in this format to get you motivated and starting upon the path for what will build up the best retirement for you. And obviously, I think a major answer to that question we have heard this evening from Mike is to be educated and to learn as much as we can about the investing process and along with the motivation that it takes just to put pennies in the piggy bank, right? Like it's not easy to do without because we got stuff that we want to do today. So hopefully you've taken away some amount of motivation tonight to save a little extra. We have a few minutes left. Is there anyone in the audience that has a hand raised that I can call on before we leave? Okay,
I did such a great job. They're speechless.
there you go. Um,
Hey, there's a question.
there you go, Jill.
I wondered what you think of Dave Ramsey. I know he's very big on building an emergency fund, and I've listened to him before about budgeting, and I just wondered what your wisdom is about his advice.
I like Dave Ramsey. I think he's got a lot of great things, but there are some things that I don't disagree on. Okay, and I think that's fair. But when it comes to the savings and low, no debt and all that, I think it's spot on. I mean, I really do. Some of the things that he gets into regards to the investment side of things, I don't 100% agree on, But otherwise, I think he's got a lot of great things to say. I often use that with a lot of my clients if they want the fluffy version of what I think about what's going on, or they want the Dave Ramsey version. And you know how Dave Ramsey can get with this, and his version of what you're doing. But yeah, no, I think he's got a lot of great things. And there's a lot of things that, like I said, that I think, we can disagree on, but that's okay.
Certainly is a lot of information out there available to sort through and see what works.
There is. If I could add also, um, this book. This was written by a friend of mine and also the manager of the financial investment management firm that we use, Mark Matson. I've known Mark for 30 years. Um, Matson Money is the company that we've used for the last 30 years as our turn asset management program. And he wrote this book called Experiencing the American Dream. Okay. You can get it on Amazon. It's also in an audio version, but I highly recommend it. There's a lot of great information in here, but mostly too, it'll teach you about not only the behavioral side I was talking about, coaching, but it's also going to get into some of the science too. So if you guys are looking for something to read and learn, this would be a great thing to get your hands on. Great book to
Great.
get your hands on.
We have hands up. Chris DeGrazia, what is your question?
Thanks. Uh, what do you what do you think of, or have you seen any benefit in your business through clients or people using kind of the viral hacks or trends, the silly things that people do online? One example would be like the envelope method, which I know isn't new, but like there's different things that different generations do to make it look flashy or easy or fun. Have you seen any value in them, or is it all kind of the same, just recycled in a different way?
I Hi Chris, great question. Thank you. You know, I think different strategies work for different people. I've seen clients use the envelope method and it works. I've seen clients use other methods and it works for them. And then you have another client that tries to use the envelope method and it doesn't work. So I would really, whatever works best for you. I mean, you know yourself, you know your spending habits and the things that you like to do. But I tell you what, getting yourself aligned with a coach or advisor that can help you, stay disciplined to whatever it is that you say you want to do or want to accomplish is really critical. It really is. I see clients that try to do budgeting. I'll be honest with you, budgets don't work. It's hard to follow. Most people they'll try to do them and then the first month or two they get frustrated with it and they. So there are different things you can do. We have an app that we use for our clients. It's a financial wellness app, and it's pretty slick. I mean, and a lot of people, everyone's into the apps now and stuff like that, and the technology. But what you can do is you can spend the time and you answer a bunch of questions and you tailor it for you. And, it'll help you and help walk you through and keep you on track with the things that you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, there's many different methods, but yeah, I think trying to figure out what works best for you is the way to go.
Thank you for that answer. We're at an hour, but we have one more hand. Marguerite, what's your question?
Good afternoon, Mike. I had a question that you did just answer my question. I was going to ask you what are some great financial apps, and you did give us one, but do you know any others? And the second question is, you said that your 11-year-old worked for you. Is there any forms or what's the procedure of actually setting that up?
Well, as far as the apps, there's so many different apps out there. And I'm not going to say one's better than the other. Okay, really. But if you're going to look for an app, finding a financial wellness type app, I think would be the easiest thing to get into. But if you're interested in learning about like the app that we use, you know, make sure you take my information, reach out to me, and I'm happy to share that with you and show you how you can get onto it. And that's for everybody here. But in regards to my 11-year-old, we had to set him up like any other employee in my business. So you got to go through that process. And we pay him. He's a W-2 employee. So he gets paid through the payroll. So depending on your setup of your business, what I would suggest is consult with your CPA or your tax preparer, and they could help you better, you know, set up how it needs to be for your particular business.
Thank you so much. I try to really stick to our 60 minutes, and I want to remind everyone you're going to receive an email. It will have Mike's website link and his information. So I have in the chat the QR code if you want to take a picture of that now before it goes away, but you're also going to receive it in email. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Mike, for your presentation. We really appreciate all the information and motivation. And most especially, we want to invite all of our audience back next month for your go-to gadgets. Stay warm if you're not in Florida, and we will see you all very soon. Have a nice night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.